Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and felt you could see something deep, something unspoken, almost sacred? Perhaps in a moment of compassion or pain shared, you sensed their soul. Today, we're exploring how to read someone's soul through the lens of Viktor Frankl's wisdom. It's not about mind reading or mysticism. It's about truly understanding another human being at the deepest level. Viktor Frankl, famed psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, wrote the influential book, Man's Search for Meaning. His life and work give us profound insights into human meaning, suffering, and the human spirit. By the end of this journey, you'll see that reading a soul isn't magic. It's an act of presence, empathy, and love. Every one of us carries an inner world of hopes, fears, and values. We all long to be seen for who we truly are. The psychologist Carl Jung once observed that loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you. Think about that. Our deepest loneliness springs from feeling that no one understands what matters most to us. In a sense, we feel invisible when our inner world isn't recognized by others. Reading someone's soul means recognizing that inner world, giving someone the gift of understanding. It's listening not just to their words, but to the meaning behind them. It's noticing the emotions in their eyes, the values that guide them, the pain or passion in their story. When someone feels truly understood, it's as if a weight lifts. The loneliness subsides because, finally, another soul sees them. So, how do we learn to see in this way? Viktor Frankl offers some clues. He believed that at the core of every person is a search for meaning, a why that keeps them going. To read a soul, we must tune into that search for meaning in each other. Frankl's own story illuminates the power of meaning. During World War II, he was imprisoned in Nazi concentration camps, enduring unimaginable suffering. In those darkest of times, he began to observe a fascinating truth. People who found meaning, even in the most horrendous circumstances, were far more resilient than those who did not. As Frankl famously wrote, "Those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how," an idea he borrowed from philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. In other words, if you understand what someone lives for, their why, you gain profound insight into their spirit and resilience. In the camps, Frankl's why was twofold: the hope of seeing his loved ones again, especially his wife, and the drive to finish the manuscript of a book he had been working on. These meanings gave him inner strength. He noticed others did something similar. They held on because they had someone to care for, or a goal waiting beyond the barbed wire. One moving example, Frankl recalled two fellow prisoners who were on the verge of giving up. He gently asked them to think of what life might still be expecting from them. One man realized his young child abroad needed him. The other realized he had research work unfinished that only he could complete. This flicker of purpose reignited their will to live. They discovered a reason to endure, and it changed their attitude overnight. Frankl learned that even when we face suffering that we cannot change, we retain one final freedom: the freedom to choose our attitude. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms: to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. Consider that. Even when life strips everything away, a person's inner response remains their own. That response often depends on what meaning they see in their situation. If we want to read someone's soul, we should ask, what is their why? What purpose or hope guides them through their how? Are they driven by love for family, by a passion for art, a commitment to faith, a dream they've cherished? When you know what gives someone meaning, you get a window into their soul. You understand what fuels their resilience, or sometimes what causes their despair if that meaning is lost. Even suffering itself can become meaningful. Frankl wrote, "In some way, suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment it finds a meaning." For instance, think of a parent working 2 jobs. The exhaustion and stress are real, but if you see that they're doing it out of love to give their kids a better life, the sacrifice becomes purposeful. In the same way, Frankl saw prisoners who would comfort others despite their own misery, giving away their last piece of bread. They may have been few in number, but they offer sufficient proof that everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, the freedom of attitude and kindness. Those small acts of courage and compassion were windows into the souls of those men. How can we truly understand the core of another person? Viktor Frankl's answer was simple. Through love. Love, he wrote, is the only way to grasp another human being in the innermost core of his personality. To Frankl, love was not just romance. It was the act of deeply seeing the value and potential in another person. When you love someone, you pay attention to their essence. You see not just who they are, but who they can be, the best that is in them. In the concentration camp, Frankl survived partly by imagining conversations with his wife in his mind, feeling her presence and love. He realized that even when he was utterly alone, the love he felt for her filled him with light. Frankl wrote that, "Love is the ultimate and the highest goal to which man can aspire. The salvation of man is through love and in love. I understood how a man who has nothing left in this world still may know bliss in the contemplation of his beloved." He understood how a person who has nothing left in the world still may know bliss in the contemplation of his beloved. Even without knowing if his wife was alive, his love for her allowed him to transcend the horror around him. Psychologist Rollo May, another great thinker, echoed this idea. He said, "One must have at least a readiness to love the other person if one is to be able to understand him." Love opens our eyes. When we approach someone with care, empathy, and respect, we start to see them. Not the surface acts or the labels, but the real person inside. Have you noticed how you understand your closest friends or family so well? It's because, in some way, you love them. You've invested attention and care, so you intuitively grasp their feelings and needs. To read someone's soul, then, is to look with eyes of love and empathy. It means withholding quick judgment and instead asking, why might they feel this way? What pain or hope are they carrying? It requires us to be fully present with them. Often, just our genuine presence can be healing. Frankl found that even in the camps, simply listening to a distraught fellow prisoner sharing a crust of bread or quietly discussing each other's loved ones could rekindle a sense of meaning. In showing compassion, he not only helped others, he kept his own soul alive. As one observer put it, Frankl found his meaning in these most dehumanized of environments by observing others and by helping them find a reason to continue living. Let's bring this down from theory to real life. Picture a moment in your life when someone truly understood you. Maybe you were going through a hardship, and a friend said exactly what you needed to hear, or simply listened with full attention. How did that feel? Perhaps you felt relief or validation, a sense that finally someone gets it. That is the feeling of being seen soul to soul. Viktor Frankl shares a powerful anecdote from his psychotherapy practice after the war. He worked with an elderly doctor who was devastated by the loss of his wife. The man was sunk in grief, unable to see any reason to go on. Frankl gently asked him to imagine if he had been the one to die first. How would his wife have coped? The doctor replied that she would have been heartbroken and suffered terribly. Frankl responded, in effect, "By outliving her, you have spared her that suffering, at the cost of your own. Isn't that a meaningful sacrifice?" The man walked away with a new perspective. His own pain was the price of his love, and he was willing to bear it so that his beloved wife didn't have to. His suffering turned from despair into something noble. This story shows how understanding someone's experience and helping them frame it with meaning can literally save a life. Frankl read this grieving man's soul by recognizing the love and selflessness beneath his sorrow and reflecting it back to him. Another story. In Man's Search for Meaning, Frankl describes prisoners on a forced march who pause to marvel at a beautiful sunset. He writes that if someone had seen their faces in that moment, he would never have believed that those were the faces of men who had given up all hope of life and liberty. These starving, exhausted men stood transfixed by the sight of alpine peaks glowing in the evening light, carried away by nature's beauty. Even in hell, their souls could still respond to beauty and wonder. That sunset might have lasted only minutes, but it nourished their spirits. It reminded them that there was still a world beyond the barbed wire, a world of sunsets, stars, and things worth living for. In that scene, Frankl essentially shows us how a glimpse of meaning, in this case through nature's beauty, revealed the men's souls. Think of times you've seen a person light up talking about something they love. Maybe their eyes shine when discussing a hobby, or their voice grows gentle when mentioning a loved one. Those moments are when you are reading their soul. You see what gives them life. We can create more of those moments by being curious and supportive when people share what matters to them. Reading someone's soul is not reserved for extreme situations or grand gestures. We can practice it in ordinary conversations and daily interactions. Here are some practical ways to cultivate this deeper understanding. 1. Be fully present. Put away distractions when you're with someone. Give them your undivided attention. Presence is powerful. When a friend truly focuses on us, we feel valued. As you listen, observe their expressions and body language. Often, what's not said aloud is where the real story lies. 2. Listen for the why. In conversation, gently probe for what matters to the person. Ask open-ended questions like, "What do you enjoy about that?" Or, "What kept you going through that tough time?" Show curiosity about their passions and values. By inviting them to share their why, you help them reveal their soul's contents. Remember Frankl's insight: meaning drives us. Try to identify what gives them meaning. 3. Practice empathy and imagination. As you hear someone's story, put yourself in their shoes. How would you feel if you were experiencing their situation? What hopes or fears might you have? Use your own experiences of struggle or joy to connect with theirs. Carl Jung noted that knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of others. In other words, when you acknowledge your own pain, you can better understand someone else's pain. Your own life lessons become a bridge to understanding their soul. 4. Approach with compassion. Adopt what Rollo May called a readiness to love. This means approaching everyone, even strangers, with basic kindness and respect for their humanity. When you care about someone's well-being, even at a simple human level, they will sense it. Compassion creates a safe space for people to open up. Even just silently wishing someone well can shift your attitude to be more understanding. Before you judge or respond, pause and remind yourself: this is a unique person with dreams and struggles like my own. That mindset will help you see them more clearly. By practicing these steps, we train ourselves to see beyond the surface, to really see the person in front of us. It's like adjusting the focus on a camera lens until the image becomes clear. At first, you might only notice the obvious, their words, their outward mood. But with patience and empathy, the finer details of their inner world come into view. In the end, reading someone's soul comes down to two things: meaning and presence. Viktor Frankl taught us that meaning is what makes life worth living. It's the light that keeps the human spirit alive, even in darkness. And presence is how we share that light with each other, by truly being there for one another, without distraction or judgment. When we take the time to understand someone's why, we validate their existence. We tell them, "Your life means something. I see you." This can uplift someone in profound ways. Frankl saw that even in Auschwitz, a kind word, a listening ear, or a moment of shared hope could ignite a spark in a dying soul. In our everyday lives, we have the same power in each interaction. Imagine a world where we all tried to read each other's souls a bit more, where we approached each person with curiosity, empathy, and love. We would likely find less anger and more understanding, fewer lonely people, and more fulfilled ones. We'd realize that beneath our differences in culture, age, or belief, we all yearn for purpose and connection. We all want our souls to be seen. Let's carry forward Viktor Frankl's legacy by honoring the meaning in our own lives and by being present for others. Next time you meet someone, a friend, a family member, even a stranger, remember that there is a story within them, waiting gently to be read. Ask yourself, what is their soul trying to tell me? And be patient enough to listen for the answer. Reading someone's soul is ultimately an act of love. It heals the person who is seen, and it also enriches the one who sees. As you practice this art, you may find something beautiful. In truly seeing others, you will feel less alone, more connected, and more alive as well. After all, when we look into another's soul, we learn more about the human spirit, and that helps us understand our own. Remember, the human soul is not some inaccessible mystery. It speaks through everyday moments of meaning if we only pay attention. So slow down, look a little closer, listen a little deeper. In doing so, you hold up a mirror to someone's essence and say, "Your life matters, and I am here with you." That simple act can light up the darkest of places. Thank you for listening. May you find meaning in your own life and share the gift of presence with those around you. In Viktor Frankl's words, even when life is hard, life is so very meaningful that in suffering and even in failure there must still be meaning. Hold on to that truth. Stay present, stay compassionate, and you will be amazed at the souls you can truly see.